Throughout human history, we have assumed that reality exists independently of us. The chair you sit on, the trees outside, the stars in the night sky, they all seem to exist whether or not anyone is there to witness them. But what if that assumption isn't entirely correct? What if, in some sense, reality only becomes fully real when it is observed? This idea may sound strange, even absurd, but it has roots in both philosophy and modern physics. The question touches on the very nature of existence, consciousness, and the limits of human perception. It challenges our most basic understanding of the world. The first hints of this concept can be traced back to philosophers who wondered about perception and reality. George Berkeley, an 18th century philosopher, proposed something radical for his time: that objects only exist to the extent that they are perceived. In other words, the tree in the forest only exists because someone is perceiving it. This notion, known as idealism, suggested that observation is not a passive act, but a creative force that brings reality into being. Fast forward a few centuries, and modern physics introduces an even stranger perspective. Quantum mechanics, the theory that describes the behavior of matter at the smaller scales, is full of phenomena that seem to defy common sense. One of the most famous is the double-slit experiment. When electrons or photons are sent through two slits and observed, they behave like particles. When they are not observed, they behave like waves, creating interference patterns as if they went through both slits at once. The implication is staggering. The act of measurement or observation appears to determine the outcome of the experiment. Until something is observed, it exists in a state of multiple possibilities. It is only when we look, when we measure, that a definite reality emerges. This principle has been famously illustrated in thought experiments like Schrödinger's cat. Imagine a cat in a sealed box with a device that has a 50% chance of killing it. According to quantum mechanics, until the box is opened and the cat is observed, it exists in a superposition, both alive and dead at the same time. Only when the observer opens the box does reality choose one outcome. Some scientists argue that this does not mean reality is literally created by observation. Instead, it may mean that our classical intuition about objects existing independently at all times fails at the quantum level. The universe, it seems, is more malleable, more interconnected with consciousness than we ever imagined. Yet, even outside the quantum realm, there are curious hints that observation, or awareness, plays a crucial role in shaping what we perceive. Consider the simple example of our own visual system. Your eyes constantly filter the flood of information from the environment. Your brain fills in gaps, interprets shadows, and even predicts motion before it happens. In a sense, you are not just seeing reality, you are constructing it moment by moment. Psychologists call this perceptual filling in. When a person stares at a patterned image with a blank spot, their brain often completes the missing information seamlessly. The blank isn't perceived as empty. It is rendered in the mind according to context. This shows that perception is not a passive recording of reality, but an active creation. In a way, what you see only exists when your mind renders it. Some theorists take this further, suggesting that the universe itself may behave similarly on a larger scale. The idea is called the observer effect in quantum mechanics, but it has been philosophically expanded. What if, in some sense, the cosmos only fully renders? Events where there is a conscious witness. This is not to say that trees or planets blink in and out of existence when no one is looking, but it raises questions about the role of consciousness in the fabric of reality. Experiments in quantum physics continue to push the boundaries of this idea. In delayed choice experiments, scientists have shown that the behavior of particles can be affected by measurements made after the particles have passed through a system. It's as if the act of observation reaches backward in time to shape what happened. While the full implications are still debated, these experiments suggest a deep connection between observation, knowledge, and existence. Philosophically, this challenges the notion of an objective, independent reality. If observation is so central, can we ever truly say what exists independently of a conscious witness? Some physicists, like Eugene Wigner, have even suggested that consciousness may be a fundamental part of the universe itself. The very act of perceiving might be inseparable from the reality that appears before us. This idea is unsettling. Most of us navigate life assuming the world exists exactly as we see it, whether we look or not. Yet, if reality is not fully determined until observed, then the universe is not a static stage. It is a dynamic interaction, a dance between being and perception. The world, in a sense, is co-created by our awareness. The implications ripple beyond physics into everyday life and philosophy. If our perception helps render reality, then the act of paying attention may have more power than we imagine. It may explain why moments of mindfulness, deep focus, or emotional intensity can feel so vivid, so profoundly real. The universe in these moments is alive in ways that go beyond the mechanical motions of atoms. Even in technology, we see echoes of this principle. In virtual reality, a computer generates a world that only exists as it is rendered to the viewer. Pixels on a screen are not meaningful until observed. The experience is only real when someone perceives it. In a strange way, VR mirrors the possible relationship between consciousness and the physical universe itself. Stories from mystics, philosophers, and even everyday people sometimes echo this same idea. The world seems less fixed and more participatory. People describe moments when reality feels malleable, a sudden insight, a dream that feels hyper-real, or a coincidence so precise it feels like the universe itself is responding to awareness. Could these experiences be hinting at the same principle physics suggests at the quantum scale? Of course, there is skepticism. Many scientists caution against over-interpreting quantum experiments. The observer effect may not require a conscious mind. A measuring device could suffice. Reality may exist independently, and our perception is simply entangled with it in complex ways we are only beginning to understand. Yet, even if consciousness is not literally creating reality, the idea forces us to re-examine what we take for granted. Every observation, every act of paying attention, every moment of awareness might be more significant than we realize. Reality may not be a static background, but a participatory experience. Perhaps the most profound takeaway is humility. The universe may be far stranger than our intuition allows. What seems obvious, trees, stars, the flow of time, may conceal layers of mystery. And in those layers, the observer and the observed are inseparable, intertwined in a way that challenges our deepest assumptions. So the next time you look at the world around you, consider this. how much of what you see is reality itself, and how much is a reality that appears only because you are there to witness it? What if, in some subtle, unimaginable way, the universe is waiting for you to look before it fully comes into being? Perhaps in the end, we are not just inhabitants of reality, we are participants, collaborators, and co-creators of the very world we experience. And the greatest mystery may not be what exists out there, but how the act of seeing itself brings existence to life.